watch out, that your skin can bring you so much pain. Now I hear you say, you got the best of both ways. Won't you come and take a walk in my shoes and tell me if you take my place?
All right, Tom disappeared, so perfect time to intro him. He's one of the luckiest runners in the country at the moment to finish just ahead of me at the Sydney Marathon last weekend. He came 8th, 9th.
Yeah,
9th
8th.
Overall. 10th overall.
8th.
No, 8th.
No, that's Robert. Sorry, I came 10th.
You were 10th.
Yeah,
I think you just out kicked me on the line for 10th because I was 11th.
Yeah, just out kicked you at 25k. Yeah.
And we're also here with Nida, who's the second in charge at Spark Physiotherapy for the foot. Is that what you call yourselves down there?
We're Spark, mate. Yeah. Look at you guys. You road running legends who missed the road running championships to go chase some cash in Sydney.
Well, I was going to say, you're the top 10 in the national championships, Nida. Were you 10th?
No, I was 20th.
Oh. Well, because
there was
10 women in front of you?
There was one. There was one in front of me. So it would have been about where you would have finished, Julian.
Who was that? Was that Jen? Did Jen win?
It was Jen.
Yeah.
Jen won by a mile in the girls. Yeah.
She's winning everything at the moment.
She's good.
Well, why don't we start, fellas, with your race, Nida? Because you ran at the City to Bay in Adelaide, 12K downhill race.
Mate, this is the Shoe Geeks, mate. I don't need to tell you about my running week.
No, I want to hear about the shoes. I want to hear
what shoes you're wearing.
You're wearing.
Look, I wore the Alpha Fly one, and I woke up the next day as sore as I've ever been, and I love the shoe and I race well in it, but I don't run flat road races very often. And there's a training effect to running on trails 80% of your training load and then going to the flat road and not handling it well, regardless of the shoe you wear. But look, I love the Alpha Fly. At the time, I don't feel the ground at all. But it's still City to Bay is a straight line 12-kilometer event. It's actually fast as hell, and it was slightly hot on the day, but otherwise conditions were perfect. So if you're going to pick an Alpha Fly. The day was 26, but I reckon we finished the race, it would have been 21, 22. So cooler than you guys had in Sydney. But look, probably the first hot day we've had here in Adelaide for the whole season, probably. So people have found the last part a bit tricky. If you were a 70-minute runner, you really battled because they ran out of cups in the City to Bay halfway through the race. So people were pouring goon bags of water into people's mouths as they were running past. I'm not talking about just the end. I'm talking about the 4K mark, the 8K mark. So it was a bit of a shambles, to be honest. So, but
where were you sore?
Everywhere. So look, since then, it's been not 10 days. I had sore quads, both sides. I had sore calves, which is interesting because I don't normally get sore calves on the Alpha Fly. So it was obviously just the load. I didn't handle the load very well. I missed the Tuesday workout leading into it. I picked up whatever Zara had. She had hand, foot, and mouth, and I missed the workout leading in. So I didn't really run much leading into the week, but I actually felt pretty good on the day. So I reckon when you miss a week of running and you go out and hammer yourself for a week, doesn't matter what shoe you're wearing. The Alpha Fly definitely gets you to the start line and makes you feel a bit better. But I still woke up feeling like I've been hit by a truck, and I've done a couple of workouts. I've done one workout since, was last night, and that was slow, and I still feel the effects. So I don't want to say I've run a marathon because you boys have both run a marathon, but I felt like I ran a marathon. So that was just the training effect. But the shoe was brilliant, and it'll always be the shoe I pick in a straight line for sure. So until the third version comes out.
Still got nothing better than the Alpha. What about this?
Well, look, I've got plenty equivalents.
Okay.
The Mizuno, the new Mizuno. I was considering wearing it, but the Zebra 2. I don't know if you guys have worn it much. In a straight line, that shoe would work really, really well. But I just I think if you hit merely the forefoot, you sort of miss the transition a bit. So it does feel a little bit less lifeless unless you hit the middle of the foot. You get that really quick transition, and snappy transition. So. Other than that, I probably would have I've got the Vaporfly 3 now. I probably could have wore that, but I feel like I bottom out the forefoot still in that shoe. So for a 12K road race, nah, not really. I have one Puma. Actually, I have two Puma shoes. Look, we've got a lot of shoes to talk about. We haven't done this podcast for a while now, so I think it's
you've been really looking forward to this.
All right.
I have. Look, we got to start bit by bit.
Get into it. Get into it. And
get
just
into
like,
it. Right.
I think you got to pick your top 10. And then
I'm not going to do 10. I picked about 5 or 6. So look, the Super Comp trainer. So this is what the Super Comp trainer looks like for me after only 100 Ks in the trails. Julian, have a look at that.
Yeah.
So the exposed foam, the rubber's there at least. But look, this is a really enjoyable shoe. And I have to eat my words a bit. You said it was like a slightly faster shoe, and it definitely is. Like, I run in this shoe, and I definitely feel more comfortable running about 10 seconds per K faster on my easy runs. The plate, it's a little bit lower profile than the previous Super Comp. So it runs at 39.33, is that right? Or 39.31. And the plate's, relatively stiff, but the whole shoe overall is a little bit more compliant than the previous version. And it is a really soft underfoot, but I like it as a slightly more up-tempo run. So I'm not jogging my really, really slow recovery runs in it. I'm putting this on for like for a 45 to 60 minutes where I sort of get going near the end. And you said the same anyway, Julian, last time. You said this was sort of a shoe that you preferred running a little bit faster in for a jog. And
not too fast, though. That's the problem. Once you start to get up to around marathon pace, then it starts to feel like a slug.
Well, I know you wore it for the 15K part of your marathon workout, but look, I don't think the shoe's designed for 3:30 pace.
No,
it seems to me that'd be a good long run shoe.
It's a good long run shoe. Yeah.
Depends where you run. Yep. Depends where your long run is, because in the bush, look at what happens to it. It's
that's true. Yeah,
it needs some coverage there.
Look, you say that, but look, the shoe functions the same. It looks like that, but the shoe feels the exact same underfoot when you're on the surface. I could still probably get 600 Ks out of that shoe. It's just going to look worse by the time I get there. That's all.
What,
so
500 more K on that? No way. No.
Maybe not. Don't know. We'll find out. So look, but I tell you a shoe that does hold up on the trails, and you're going to hate this, Julian. I have enjoyed this a little bit more as well. I like the upper. You know what I'm going to say. So look, Tommy, good man.
Oh.
So this is the Infinity 4. Look, I guess I'll go through my pros and cons with the Infinity 4. So they've used their React X, which is like a hybrid of their original React. It's probably a little bit too much foam underneath the foot that's too firm. So it does feel like it's hard to compress the foam a little bit unless you hit it pretty hard. But it also makes the shoe heavy. This shoe here at US 10 and a half, I think weighs close to 350 grams. It's pretty heavy, and all the weight's in the base of it. The upper, it runs short. Would you agree, Julie? It runs short by half a size, you reckon? Or Tom, you reckon it probably just runs, it feels like you get to the toe box. But the issue is, like, while it feels really, really tight when you put it on, when you run it, this upper does it does move a fair bit. It's quite adaptable. So I actually don't notice that when I'm actually running in the shoe in terms of it's very flexible upper. So, look, I know it doesn't work for everyone. It feels a little bit clumsier, but the waffle type outsole through here on the trail, this has done the same volume, but of course, it looks like it's done nothing. So it actually holds up really well on the trails, and not that it's a trail-based shoe. Do you sell this shoe, Julian? Probably not.
No, I don't sell it because I think it's a dog.
But it's not a diet. I know you once called this a Brooks diet in terms of its weight.
No, it's definitely not a diet. Definitely not a diet. Got that one wrong. But that the outside wall of that shoe, Nitter, have a look at that. Like through the rear.
You mean the concavity? You mean the concavity?
Oh, yeah. I can't even walk the dog in this shoe because my ankle gets so sore.
Look, it's not a walking shoe, mate. You need to hit the shoe in the forefoot, and that concavity it doesn't disappear in the forefoot, but it definitely becomes a bit more obsolete. It goes really deep at the rear foot. It's not a walking shoe. So
you're telling me Nike made a 350 gram wide, highly cushioned shoe for forefoot strikers?
Well, look at midfoot and forefoot, perhaps. Oh. Come on, Tom, step in here.
They made it. So they made it for 5% of the running population.
Look, it's not going to work for everyone. I'm not going to say it's going to work for everyone, but I'm going to say that I have enjoyed it, and it's purely on the basis of the outsole is quite industrial. The upper actually works quite well for me, even though it probably does run half a size short. But this shoe is heavy, so it is hard to get going in the shoe. It's hard to run fast in it. So it is a day that is a little bit easier, and I definitely prefer this shoe on a softer surface beneath my foot rather than a harder surface, if that makes sense, which is not going to work for, like you said, 95% of the population. And the React X, look, it's a bit too firm. it hasn't been a deal breaker. I know it's not been a hybrid of. I think someone tried to tell me it was a hybrid between the Zoom X and the React, but it definitely is not. So it is. It needs some work. This is meant to be, they're one of their high mileage training shoes, but it still falls into a bit more of the casual shoe sales market. Would you say, Julian? And probably why you wouldn't stock it in a specialty retail shop.
It just for me, the contour through the arch and through the maybe through the medial heel area, it's just too aggressive. There's just too
Look,
much
you do say that every time I do that, I whack it. I've got a heel pitch that jumps over that straight away. So look, I know that's a complaint that you have in Alpha Fly.
That's not the shoe. The shoes don't come with them. The shoes.
I know they don't come. Yeah. But every shoe that I get, it goes in. So and now you've got here.
Yeah. What's Tom's thoughts on this?
Well, so I got the so we all got the shoe at the same time, right? So I literally
can you give a shout out to the guy that organised it for us?
Molly from Nike.
Fantastic, thanks, Molly. I've enjoyed it, Molly.
I want to love this shoe because I have historically loved Nike training shoes. So way back when I used to enjoy Pegasus and then the Luna range of daily trainers, I actually loved those. And then when the first React came out, loved that as well. And then it was just, unfortunately, when they changed the Epic React to this Infinity React, it's just, so this latest iteration, like the fit is just weird. So you put I put my foot in and it felt like it ran about a size small. And like you said, it did feel a little bit better as I started running in it, but definitely not it just wasn't comfortable off the bat. Just didn't fit great. And then, it just heavy. And you know how sensitive I am to weight, like size 13, it's like 400 grams. It's just, it feels a bit lighter on foot because of I guess it gives a little bit back that React foam, but it just felt clunky. It just wasn't enjoyable. It just felt heavy, clunky. I think if it's a heavier set runner, maybe that's not going to crush the lateral, but is heavy and can compress that foam, they're going to get a lot of life out of that shoe. So I think
it's going to be durable, isn't it? Maybe. It's going to last. But look, people aren't buying shoes for lasting now, are they, Julian? They're not buying shoes to last 1,000 kilometers anymore. I don't know if that market exists.
It's got to be a factor, though. It's got to be a factor. And this shoe for me, like you said, someone who's bigger, let's say we need more force to make that shoe usable, workable. That force is going through the outside of the shoe on foot strike, and that concave is just collapsing on itself. And like I said, I've been walking this shoe, and the forced supination, the inversion that I get on every footstep is just giving me a sore ankle after 5 minutes of walking. I have to take it off.
Look, if we go back in retrospect, remember the Nova Blast 1? You remember how they concave the lateral, but they also concave the medial side. That's what made the shoe feel so soft underfoot. And I argue it felt really good underfoot. The forefoot, they didn't concave it at all, but just the rear foot. So if you hit the rear foot and you're walking in the Nova Blast 1, if you move too far medially or laterally, it was really pronounced. I'd argue this is a little bit like that when you walk in this shoe. This little concavity or this hole through, you can see it's a huge divot. And on the medial side, they fill it in, right? So definitely not a walking shoe, that's for sure. So, look, hard to say. Look, I got a message from Zaka today asking to put in my goat shoe of all time, and it was the Vomero 12. And how far Nike are away from a volume shoe I have a relationship with from the Vomero 2 is just extraordinary. They're so far away from it. So
before you go too far down this track, Nike have had a history of making concaves in their lateral wall. Remember that old structure, structure 19.
Yep.
That real post on the inside, concave on the out. Everybody within 100K had just created this total bevel in the shoe. It's something they do a lot.
We've seen that in the Pegasus a bit as well, to be honest. We've seen it not on the same scale as this, but we've seen it on a bit more of a broad scale. And, they've removed the whole medial aspect of the shoe under the arch and things like that as well. So we've just seen they're just not getting it right. And look, for a company that is so good, this looks really good. Like my wife's comment was when she saw this, geez, they make good. Well, I reckon that looks good, mate. That looks all right. So It looks like Toy Story sort of shoe, and I like Toy Story, mate. So
Look, we've for 1 to 2 weeks, we've had the Nike Vomero 17 in store. That has been really popular out of the blocks. Fits really well, feels super smooth. That is Nike's return to the training market in a big way. Even the Structure 25 is feeling smoother. I think they're starting to get the fits better. Both of those shoes have a slightly broader forefoot. Then they're a little deeper through the heel. They fit really well and they feel smooth. And that Vomero is a real run shoe again.
Agreed.
I think they're nailing it.
Yep. Well, look, that's good news. That's good news. And look, it's hard to I've always enjoyed the original, like the Epic Reacts stuff. They've been fun shoes, but look, we'll move on. We'll move on because you get frustrated because you had such a good history with Nike, and sometimes you get frustrated because you just don't get the love that you want out of it. Look, I'm not going to review this one because it's on our Instagram page. And I did a reel, and I talked about this shoe. And the On Cloud Stratus 3 has been a good upgrade from the second version. They've filled in this area through here. No one's getting rock stuck in the rear foot, so it's not adding 50 grams of weight. I don't know about the double cloud tech being much different from the original, but I guess the 2 mils of extra foam through the whole shoe has made the shoe feel a bit more fun underfoot. I've enjoyed the rocker. The upper is probably, the volume of the shoe is probably on the too much side. I reckon I haven't seen
Look at
many
those
people
laces.
wear this. Yeah. So this is
Yuck.
So it's on the too much volume side. But look, I find this shoe once again similar to the category of a shoe that I run a bit better enjoyably when I'm running faster. I can hit this foam, but I can compress this shoe. I can't compress the Infinity 4. The pods do work a bit better, and look, this has been a nice upgrade. I find it stable as well, Julian. I still find this categorically a stable neutral shoe. I don't know, I can't feel the segmentation as much in this shoe within the pods like I could in the original one. So I really think that's been
that shoe surprised me the most. That one, I didn't like the previous two, and I wasn't expecting much on this. And it was I've actually enjoyed. I've run quite a bit in it since we got it.
It's a funny shape though. It's like a banana.
It is a little bit C. Yeah, it's a bit the old C shape. But
show it from the top. Show us the upper down.
Yeah, it's a good point. It does look a little bit like a C shape, and but look, so did the Cloud Monster looked a bit like a C shape, to be honest, as well. Like they're not far removed from each other in terms of this one's a bit heavier.
I looked up the tech specs because I was going to chat about the Stratus, and because I prefer this shoe to the Monster, which is a bit controversial.
Oh no,
but I know it's weird, but I do. And it has like the same stack height.
Yep. Yeah,
that's a bit surprising.
What about the Monster being like 40 grams lighter or something?
I can feel that in the upper though. I reckon the upper does that, to be honest. Maybe the outsole is probably a bit less as well on that, but the upper of the Monster is a little bit thin. So Tom's battling there a little bit.
Yeah. What's going on with that? It's me and you. So you keep going.
Well, look, I'm going to keep going, and I'm going to look. You did tell me, I received a lot of shoes from Puma a couple of months back from Maddie Sparkman, so I say thanks. And I said, I'm gonna do the compliment sandwich type scenario as well. Like I've had some really good experiences with the Pumas, and I've had maybe the worst experience of a running shoe that I've had for a long time in there as well. And I don't even have it. I gave the shoe away, unfortunately, after about 2 runs. I just couldn't wear the shoe. It was the Forever Run. I don't know if you've heard about it. It's sort of their Kayano equivalent as well. And the Forever Run was narrow in the forefoot. It was soft in the heel, and it was firm in the forefoot. There was no segments off the outsole, so it was really like an audible noise. So I ticked a few boxes of a shoe that was quite clumsy and didn't work for me. And I was glad to hear the guys from the Doctors of Running as well always say that shoe didn't work. So I'm going to leave that one there. But since then, I've had the opportunity to wear the Magnify 2, and they use their nitro-infused midsole in this. This is their daily trainer, or probably their high stack daily trainer. And this is a really fun shoe. I still reckon categorically it's very similar to, it sits next to a Saucony Triumph. And it's got a relatively stable surface area on the shoe. I think it's about 38 or close to 39, maybe even 40 at the rear foot. It's got around about an 8 mil pitch on the shoe. It's a little bit more responsive, I would say, than the Triumph, but it is a bit firmer underfoot, just a little bit firmer underfoot. The big downside to this, and you know what I'm going to say, this upper works pretty well. But if I sit it next to a shoe that I received, which is the DV8 Nitro 2, so a non-racer, like a performance trainer type shoe, the toe box taper in the lateral aspect of the toe box is almost a bit of a deal breaker in almost every single Puma. I don't have a wide foot by any means, but why they need to taper the
from the lacing.
Yeah, they don't need to taper the toe box in the forefoot of any of the shoes like they currently do. This one we get away with because the upper is a bit more adaptable, like similar to the Infinity 4. It is quite nice. So this shoe I think performs really well and will sell really well at a slightly lower price range. I reckon compared to what a Triumph would be. It's probably 220, 240, you reckon? Maybe less. I don't know. But it's a bit less than say a Triumph is.
220 grams?
No, in terms of cost.
Oh, yeah. I think it is pretty reasonable, actually. I think that's a good sales point. But the DV8 Nitro 2, so this is their plated shoe. All their uppers use their power tape to support the foot on the aspects of the upper, whether it's medial or lateral. But this toe box, Tom, you struggle with this probably more than I do, I would say, in terms of a narrow toe box. I've battled with this one. I can't. This is half a size bigger than I need, and it's as much as I enjoy the foam beneath the foot, the plated and the Nitro foam, which I really think is a complete winner. The toe box is almost a deal breaker for me, which is a real shame. So it's something I think
that toe box compared to the Elite. Similar.
So the Elite through here you're talking about. We've got two. So this is the DV8 Nitro Elite 2, and this is actually V1. So V1 is definitely one of the most enjoyable shoes I've put on in terms of feeling a halfway point between a super foam but a traditional flat. So on the track workouts, I really, really enjoyed this. The toe box on both of them are still tapered and still narrow. I would say this one has a bit more volume across the MPJs, but still quite narrow across when you get to the digits. This one's quite narrow across the MPJs and tapers off quickly towards the forefoot as well. The Fast R, I actually couldn't wear because it was too narrow. It was too narrow for the forefoot. But the foam beneath your foot in these two shoes, I'm not sure what your thoughts are on, Tom. They're really enjoyable. They're a little bit firmer underfoot. I'd say V1 was softer, but less snappy, less responsive, so less stiffness. And this V2 is probably a little bit firmer underfoot, but I'd argue a bit snappier as well. So more like a traditional flat, I would say, but still that super foam feels. But I'm not sure about the toe box. I've already got out to 30 minutes, and as the duration got further, I actually don't have neuroma symptoms historically. It's the first time I've had neuroma symptoms from 3 to 4 doing a workout in the shoe. So I'm unsure what to say about it. You get this beautiful foam beneath your foot. You got this good ride, a good sensation. And, I'm a D-width foot, and these feel almost too narrow for me, which is tricky. So,
yeah, it's going to be a problem. It's bizarre. I don't know why they've done that. I did a session and did a couple of K reps in that shoe, and then I did one rep in the Rebellion Pro 2, a couple of reps in that, and a couple of reps in my Next Percent.
Yeah,
they were all very different. Very different. Well, that one and the Next Percent were the closest, but
the Vaporfly you're talking about.
Vaporfly, sorry, yeah.
But
the Vaporfly still just has that pop and cushion that the DV8 Nitro Elite 2 didn't have. It still felt just not as super. Felt great, it felt underfoot, smooth, soft, poppy.
Exactly. Quick transition.
Not at the level of say a Vaporfly.
I do want to, we got to have some positive things. The outsole of this shoe through here is really nice. It's one of the, when a New Balance released the RC1, it had been a while since we had that sort of little serrated type outsole. This is quite good. It's quite grippy. You could almost wear this for a grass course or a dirt course pretty comfortably as well. The foam works really well on those softer surfaces because the foam is a bit firmer. And like you said, unfortunately, the compression off the foam is a bit hard to get. Because it's not quite as super, it's not quite as compliant as your Next Percent and, your PIBA-based midsoles. This Nitro foam is just a bit firmer underfoot. So there's so many good things going on there with the shoe and feeling quite natural under the foot and feeling fast and snappy. But just the space of the upper and the volumes, it's going to be a bit of a deal breaker for a lot of people. And they do need to sort it out. I'm not actually sure where it comes from. I'm not sure why they're doing it.
Here's my take of all this as a retailer. Is when someone comes in the store, these shoes cost what, $300 more? Most of them do now. They're in a market where every single brand has a super shoe or at least one super shoe on the market. No one's putting one out for less than $300. This isn't a little bit of money. This isn't like an add-on to a training shoe. This is a big purchase for someone. They're not. If you fuck it up that bad with the upper, you won't get anyone buying the shoe in store. Perhaps you'll sell some online when no one's trying it on. But if someone puts a shoe like that on, like how Tom describes that next to a Vaporfly, why would anyone purchase that?
Look, we're seeing people being sponsored by Puma. We're seeing them put a lot of money into the sport. So we are seeing people like interested in the shoe, for example, because of those reasons. But you're right. The consumer, once it goes on the shoot, I mean, look, at the end of the day, if I'm comparing these particular two shoes, for example, they both feel really good underfoot for me as well. And to be honest, if I had to pick one of them as well, it's literally just the enjoyment at the end of 2 hours. I mean, I'm not even a wide foot. I just still struggle a bit with how tapered the toe box is in Puma. It's a bit of a deal breaker, and I'm sure these two are pretty similar in cost. In fact, maybe the On might be more expensive, but
yeah, it is.
They've got the midsole correct through here, but they just haven't got a 1% to correct, unfortunately. So, and they do need to be aware about it. I don't know where the feedback comes from. Surely they get global feedback. I mean, I haven't got a wide foot, and that's the feedback from me.
Yeah, well, so as an example, Saucony has brought like the Triumph 20 was a narrower cut, shallower. A few people struggled with that. They bring out the 21. They give it a little bit more generous toe box, and all of a sudden we start selling more shoes. It's simple little things. The majority, and we're a bit different in Australia. Our feet are wider here, but like it's not just Puma that do it. Like you've got
no.
Yeah, you've got to have...
Look at this. This is the first New Balance shoe for a while. We've had a tapered toe box. It's the actual. This is the This is a Super Comp Trainer 2. It's actually a bit narrower. It was limiting. You see this little cutout that I've cut the upper of the shoe through here. I remember seeing Talisha a while back cutting out the upper of the shoe through here because it just irritated a little bit on top. I felt like I had like an extensor tendinopathy on top of my foot, which I ended up having just from the rub. The volume and the housing of the shoe was very different to the previous versions. They haven't got this upper correct either. No. Beneath the foot is absolutely amazing, but the upper through here, they haven't got that right either.
I think you're right there. It's a bit too deep. It's too deep. Even when after I ran in it for a while, I felt like it got loose. Not just the lacing, but the whole shoe got loose towards the end of the run, and I had to stop and tighten it, or that's what I felt like I needed to do. I don't have to do that with many shoes. All right, next one. Yeah. What do you got?
Yep. No, look, to be honest, I've got other ones as well. We've got to spread it out. I've gone through 7 shoes, right? So, and I'm going to guess at least for next week. We've been building up for so long, but I was there. You guys, I'll go get another shoe.
Seven shit ones too.
No, I gave reasonable reviews. Like if people, you got to give reasonable reviews. I can't. Anyway, Tommy, you go. You run a marathon recently. You've got back into training the day after marathon. You're running.
I'll run. Yeah. So from race shoes. So I obviously raced. That was my first race actually in the Vaporfly Next 3. And was happy. It just sort of I thought it was going to perform well, and it did. Don't really have any complaints.
How'd you pull up?
Yeah, just generally sore everywhere. My ankles were oddly sore.
Were you falling off the outside of that shoe? I saw the photo you falling off the lateral column of the shoe, mate.
Yeah, I don't know what was with that. It doesn't feel that way when I'm running. I feel very centered in it when I'm running, so I don't know what was with that.
Brady also had sore ankles. Can you believe that?
Yeah. I think he said it on the pod. Yeah, I think I heard
that,
and I was like, yeah, that's weird. So did I. And I spoke to a guy that came in today, Dave, who ran only the half. He's like, yeah, I had really oddly sore ankles too. It's like, okay. Yeah, I don't know. It's a cross country road marathon basically, so possibly something to do with that. What is that?
What's that photo going on?
Tommy.
It's Tommy. It is Tommy. Look at Eddie's watch.
Watch gazing.
So
really watch gazing.
I was just checking to see when I was gonna kick down past you. I had a certain time that I was gonna go past you, mate. So that's it. So for the race shoe, that's I've been training a bit in it, and I raced in it, and it's a tick. So I reckon the only other shoe on the horizon that I would race in, which I'm sure we have to talk about at some point, is Adidas shoe. We're going to talk about it.
Yeah, we got to. We're going to talk about it later. Later, we'll talk
about it later. Yeah, I really want to talk about that later. And yeah.
So apart from that, I've been a real ASICS fanboy. So I've been running in the Kayano 30, the Nimbus 25, the GT 2000 V12.
How are you finding the GT 2000 now at the moment?
Yeah, it's just a huge move in the right direction for that model.
Yeah.
Like, so I've got the V11, and someone came in the other day, and I was explaining the differences. And I had both. I'm like just going through it's a huge difference. It's a huge change, and they've gone to that geometric stability system, which we've banged on about on here. I know before, but it just makes the ride smoother. So it's stable, yet it's smooth transitions. It just feels like more natural, smooth. It's a bit softer. Yep. None of that slappiness that you sort of used to get with those traditional ASICS stability shoes. So. It feels like a slightly more cushioned Kayano Light to me.
The
GT.
Agreed.
Very like prominent heel cup. That's one thing
that I love the heel cups in ASICS. I love the uppers. It's just you get awesome lockdown. You don't like
the Nimbus 25. You don't get an awesome lockdown. And through the front of the shoe, a lot of people blister in that. A lot of people
can I say the Nimbus 25 is the only upper I truly love from ASICS. I love flipping around a bit of a flimsy upper through there. So that lockdown in the ASICS are just a little bit too much for me. Just to keep me a bit too stable.
Really? I love a good lockdown.
Yeah, fair enough.
I found like it was too much for me. That heel counter was dug into because my foot's a bit flatter. There was a bit too much pressure there.
You're very sensitive, aren't you?
Well, no, I still run in it. I actually run it. I like the shoe, and I feel like it really supports the foot.
Mate, I sent you around about 20 pairs of heel pitches. You can solve all those problems with that.
Oh, yeah, but then I've got no Achilles after 5 years.
You get heel irritation, you over supinate, you over pronate. Like, what's the deal? You get arch irritation.
Yeah, it's bad. I've got bad gait, but You should have known. You were running behind me for 20K, not doing any work.
I was just sitting on your mate Gunther, and it was great.
Yeah, you got it right. So I've got a question though. You're at Sydney Marathon. What were you seeing around the marathon from a footwear perspective? Like that was different from the norm, or surprised you?
Well, I don't know if this is what you're getting at, but on the start line, it was very interesting on the start line. So I counted 6 leaning athletes, and 2 X-step.
Hey, could I go grab my X-step while you're there?
Get your X-step.
I'll sneak off for a little bit. I'll go grab it.
Chinese brands are really starting, I reckon, to push in a little bit. So
look at the Africans, basically, because I don't think you can purchase them in Australia, can you?
No, I don't think so. So I was chatting to someone about it, and he said he could get me a pair, but the only way is like him buying through the Chinese website and then shipping, or AliExpress. But so
this is the new X-Step 5.0, 160X 5.0. Bryn Nichols sent this to me. So Bryn's one of our masters runners in SA, really good runner. 2:27 for a marathon at the age of 47, I think, or 46. Tommy, you'd hate the booty of this shoe. Like the rear foot rocker is quite extraordinary. I actually ran with a guy in the Cedar Bay the whole way. He wore these as well. He had a pair of the 3.0s, the version before this. There was no 4.0, so I'm not sure how they jumped the 3.0 to 4.0. It is one of the Chinese brand super shoes. The foam is really it's super resilient, so it's a bit firmer. But the downside to this, and I need another guy. I can't judge it off the one run because my calves are still sore. You can see the carbon looks almost like that TL 2100. Tommy, it's really stiff and it's really thick. So they've got a stiff plate with a pretty resilient foam. So it's almost too firm. And underneath the balls of my feet, how hot they got from doing a 25-minute workout the other night at Tempo. I couldn't compress it enough. The rock is really aggressive. So you basically, all your heat happens underneath metatarsals 1 to 5 through the ball of the foot. You definitely don't hit the rear foot cleanly in this. It feels like excuse the pun, but it feels like a step almost pops up in the forefoot. So it feels like a real negative heel drop on the shoe. This rear foot rocker area feels more dramatic than what the Mizuno Wave Rebellion Pro is, even though the Rebellion Pro looks way more intense than this. But I feel like I'm more up the negative because the shoe's so firm. So I don't know if, I hit the ground pretty hard in the forefoot, and I can't compress this shoe completely. But if you're a pure forefoot runner, I think you'll get a bit back from the shoe. The outsole is interesting. It's really tacky. It's quite lightweight. I think it's relatively grippy, but look, I haven't worn it on the wet. The fit's true to size, but yeah, it's interesting. The shoe weight's quite light as well. I've never worn it.
This is the one that the Moroccan guy won.
Yeah,
Sydney.
it looked like it.
Yeah. So, but look, the shoe's high performing. It felt like it was really biased to heating up the forefoot. That's the spot you gotta hit. It feels like when you hit the rear foot, it feels really flat and slappy if you hit the forefoot. But if you hit it here, it feels quite clean. So, pretty aggressive shoe. I reckon I need to be a better runner to get more out of this shoe, and I'm not good enough, really. So, which is self-explanatory.
Well, Julian, what were you getting at with what were you expecting me to see in Sydney? What did you see?
I saw the super shoe creeping its way back through the pack more than I have in the past.
Okay.
So, even we were staying on the course at the 40, basically at the 41.8K mark. So about 400 meters from the finish. And I was on the balcony watching the probably 4.5 hour runners come through. Yeah. And the amount of super shoes out there, it was kind of astounding, given that, I know how many we sell. It's not that many, especially not to that sort of demographic. So they're getting the shoes, and it must be probably a lot of online purchasing, maybe without advice or anything. But it's certainly out on course a lot further back in the race. Yeah.
But this was always going to happen. It's like when they release carbon into bikes, for example. I go for a Saturday bike ride with a bike riding group with, men that have a BMI of 30 and weigh 120 kilos, and they've got a $12,000 carbon bike. I mean, look, this was going to happen at some point in time, surely.
But is that detrimental to their riding?
Well, definitely not. Detrimental to a bank account, but not their riding. And normally not their bank account because they're normally at a point where they can afford them. But, do you think it's detrimental to their running wearing a carbon plated shoe?
Maybe detrimental to their comfort, late in the run. I'd say
maybe.
Yeah, if you're going out for a 4.5 hour run, are you going to wear the performance lasted shoe with the unstable base through the rear foot?
Some aren't performance based either, though, are they? Some are
the fit's performance based. Just the lasting of the shoe and how much room there is, how generous it is, the amount of contact with the foot. It's just more things go wrong. But I'm not saying don't do it, but I'm just surprised at how far back it was.
Look, I'm the category which we've been talking about. We can put people in that 3.5 to 4.5 hour category of a marathon and put them into a super blast. It'll be faster than the average jogging shoe, probably a bit more stable. The upper's a bit better, a bit more enjoyable. And the performance benefits probably aren't far removed from it as well. We're probably at a time now we have jogging shoes that will act as good a performance as good a performance shoes, and comfort would be definitely superior. So, but that's up to that's education. We don't even have people educated enough to be able to connect them to the right jogging shoe at this point in time either. So
I reckon Lana performs better in the Bostons than the Adios Pro.
Why?
So
Why?
You've got You've got these performance trainers that are probably they're going to suit a wider wider spectrum of runners.
Yeah. I have to tell you a quick story. In City to Bay, my mother-in-law ran down in the Vanish Tempo, the Vanish Carbon. So she's quite stable in those shoes. She had a heel pitch in it as well. She just one of the wider forefoot. But I remember she ran the City to Bay one year, and she really battled. But she wore a racing shoe back then. Remember the Mizuno Wave Ronin?
Yeah.
Yeah. So she wore that. And this is a person running 5-minute K pace for marathon. She was much faster in a traditional running flat at the end of a 12K road race, for example, because the economy would have been a bit better. People to run in real minimalistic flats, you had to be lightweight, efficient, well-trained to be able to handle that. This is probably the similar thing we're seeing with the super shoes, but the difference is they do protect a lot more than traditional flats. But you think exactly. Yeah.
I agree.
And safer and more enjoyable. But they weren't selecting those racing flats because they were just not as comfortable anyway. When put on.
I have 2 shoes. So I've run in more. I've run in the 2000. We talked about that. I ran in that Puma Magnify. I think that's what it's called. And that's my treadmill
Magnify
shoe.
2.
I like it.
It's the second version. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I like it. It's a shoe that I would that I'd quite happily put on and run an hour in. Yeah. So
absolutely.
Certainly not a problem. I think maybe the upper's a bit stiff. That's probably my only complaint. It's a bit of a stiff type vamp through there.
You'd struggle with the other ones then because that's the most mobile, adaptable upper out of all the other Puma shoes. Yeah,
I probably would then. But 2 that I thought were interesting. I have very high hopes for this shoe, which is the Hoka Mach X. Bree got a pair and she really enjoyed running in them, and she got them before we could sort of get any stock. So she put a sample on and ran it and really liked it. And then I thought, oh damn, I've sort of missed out here. I'm going to get one for myself. And I've really disliked it. So I've run in it. I've probably put 40 Ks in it now, I reckon. And that'll be the end. I'm going to give it away. And I was thinking about why I didn't like it this morning. Like, what was it about it? And I don't know whether I've actually liked a shoe that has 2 different density foams in it. I'm not sure I've ever found one that felt smooth and felt natural to me. I've always found there's something wrong when they do this, when they join 2 foams.
But you can solve the puzzle as to why Bree likes it then and you don't, can't you?
Well, she lands here in the good stuff.
Exactly.
I don't land too far. I land a little further back in this. But I feel like there's like this is a Peba forefoot. And to me, I don't feel like it feels anything better than a normal EVA type foam. Like, I don't get any type of response from it. It has a plate through it, but it's a Peba plate. The forefoot needs more rock up to get the foot over that plate, because at the moment there's just no toe spring in a stiff shoe, and so to me,
you don't need as much toe spring when you hit further forward on the shoe because you create the toe spring a touch more, I reckon. So so it's why look, as soon as I hear your shoe review and I hear Bree's shoe review, I always write down what shoe Bree likes because I know I'll probably like it a little bit more than what you.
You like. We know you like shit shoes. We get it. And it was a narrow fit, size 12. Look at that. That is narrow. That is narrow. Yeah. Pencil down there. You can sharpen the top of it. Yeah, so that's a no for me. I like maybe a rear foot striker will get a bit more out of this green foam, which is firmer at the back and more stable rear foot, which I kind of did like about it. Like, that was one thing it had going for it. But no.
Well, tell us how did it go at like a slower pace compared to faster pace? I've talked about a few shoes already that I've just enjoyed as the pace has been about 4:15 pace compared to 4:45. Like, I've enjoyed. Is it better at a faster pace or what?
It wasn't. No. It wasn't. And I felt like no desire to do any sort of fast workout in it. Whereas I could put a Super Blast on or a Super Comp trainer, endorphin speed, and I would go out and do workouts and be like, yeah, that's okay. Yeah. Like, I can get through this fine. Whereas this one, it feels so bottom heavy. It feels like Earth was just wants this sole hit the ground each time, like gravity.
So is it stable enough for a prescription shoe? Can I recommend this shoe for someone with sesamoid pain, with first MPJ osteoarthritis?
Yeah.
What do you reckon?
Yeah.
Well, yes, it is.
Is it stiff?
It's stiff. It's stiff.
Yep.
Like that's pretty stiff. That plate there is stiff. Yeah, you could do that. I just worry about how soft that Peba is under the forefoot. Like, before you hit the plate, there's a lot of soft foam above it. So wouldn't you find like...
Yeah. Look, if it's there are heaps of options for like lightweight shoes that are jogging shoes as a performance trainer, if that makes sense, with the carbon plate. That one, I mean, that was narrow. This is, I mean, the one that I showed before, the DV8 Nitro 2, that is the same concept, but it's just too narrow, for example, as well. And for sesamoid paint, it doesn't quite work either, Tom, because the toe spring is not quite aggressive enough in it. And, well, look, if you have a first MPJ problem and you put it into a narrow forefoot, that's also probably a deal breaker as well. So, yeah. But I thought the Mac X would actually be one of those therapeutic shoes, like Tom asked. I thought maybe that'd fall into the category of being able to offload someone when they run in tempo runs with sesamoid or metatarsal, bit of metatarsalgia or plantar plate type injury as well.
Well, we're finding the Kinvara Pro a better option for that. It's just
real firm though, isn't it?
Oh, yeah,
real
that
firm.
shoe.
It's firm, yeah, but there's more toe spring on it. Oh, you've actually seen mine in the clinic, Tom.
Yeah, that's right. I was about to say, yeah.
Yeah.
He rocked up with it. He was very happy with it.
Is it on the narrower side though?
Yeah, it is. On the narrower side. Yep. But I've slammed a lot of shoes tonight, but here's one I'm going to talk up. So this here, New Balance 1080 version 13.
Yeah.
1080 used to be an absolute icon in the training world. Used to be the mileage shoe. You'd rock up to a group and there'd be out like 80% would wear a pair of 1080s.
V9.
Yeah, V9, V10 was good.
V10,
We started to lose a little bit of its way, I think. And the V12 to me was quite dead. It felt like a bit of a nothing shoe. It was real flexible in the forefoot, but it was kind of wide and heavy, and the foam was dead and dull.
So what have they done? What have they done, mate? How is it different?
Well, they've changed the angle of the pods on the bottom. So you can see the outer sole's now shaped in a more vertical fashion rather than horizontal. And what that does is create more stiffness, so a little bit more pop back. They've dropped the heel height to 6 mil. So instead of being 8, so to me it does actually noticeable, like it feels a little more natural. What else does it get? Does it get a bit more shoe?
I think it gets more shoe because it's closer to the more height, isn't it? It's got to be. It's got to be.
It's not. It's only 33.27.
Wow. Yeah.
So no, it isn't. But what it says, it gets a new compound. Fresh Foam X gets a new compound at 40 hardness, and you can really notice that because it feels soft. And a few people have gone, oh, geez, it's too mushy for me. I can get that. Like, it might be a little too soft for some people. But what I'm loving especially is all these shoes at the moment that I'm running it. Super Blast, Super Trainer, Super Comp Trail, Kayano, Nimbus. They're all really stiff through the forefoot.
Yeah.
This is the first shoe that I put on where my big toe joint actually fucking works again. And our last interview with Jordan got me thinking. I'm like, I need a shoe where my foot does work. I need a shoe that flexes through the big toe. I want to start using that bad boy.
Did you not find that with the More V4? I found that I was getting a little bit of flex through the More V4. I didn't find it was too stiff through the forefoot, especially after 100 Ks. I found that forefoot was really, really, really flexible.
No one wants to wear a shoe that's this thick. Like, I don't want to wear like absolute stiff on my foot. I want to wear normal shoes. This is a normal shoe. This is a shoe that I've been looking forward to. I wake up and I go, I want to feel like a runner. I don't want to feel
It's a good point, though. It's a good point, like having a shoe in the rotation that actually allows your big toe joint to bend, because just running everything that's stiff, high stack or plated, like you really are not varying the load enough, I don't think, with your rotation.
So this is anecdotal from Bree. Bree went for a run in the new Nimbus. She's running the Nimbus 26. It's pretty stiff. She also runs in, what else has she been running in? Alpha Fly for her workouts. She'd been wearing a lot of stiff shoes. And
Nimbus 26 is Nimbus 25, isn't it? The midsole's the same, isn't it?
No.
Oh, it's not. Okay.
We'll talk about it
later.
But,
yeah.
But she's been getting this proximal hamstring issue. And so she walked the other day in the pair of Vongo. So the new Vongo V6, which is kind of like a 1080, but it's got a plate that runs the entire way. So it's really stiff. And she took like 10 steps. She goes, oh, this feels bad. I'm going to change shoes, see if it makes a difference. Put a pair of 880s on. 880s, a lot of flex through the forefoot. Ran for an hour, said barely noticed my hamstring. That's how much of a difference what happens down here makes on what happens up near her hip. It's insane what can change. Maybe it's in her head a little bit, but I've been pushing more and more people towards more natural shoes. I think we're getting too caught up.
Here we go. Well, are you going to bring out
look,
mate,
again? I love fairy tales. Tell me a fairy tale.
A fairy tale. Low. Maybe it's the low drop. 6 mil. I don't know. This feels like a dream to run in. It's soft. It's flexible. It fits. It's kind of narrow. That's probably the fall down. Like it could do with some more width. But this upper actually seems to give a lot when you stand up in it. And when you're running, it sort of flattens maybe. But I've been liking that.
There's a couple shoes from New Balance that get a bit narrow in the forefoot, which goes against the original grain. So
I know. You've got to change it. Got to change that. That's my 2 for now. Yeah.
Well, that's good. I like that because 1080 is coming out soon, and I reckon that's going to be a nice little update for New Balance. I reckon.
Yeah. We're going to do well with that shoe. I reckon.
What's happening with the 880? Is that getting an update?
Yeah, that's not this season. Next season, it's getting firmer again. So it's not gonna have that real sort of softness through the rear foot.
It's gone to a walking shoe.
I think it'll be better for walkers. Yeah, it'll be
good
better
for sales. Good for sales and Geelong, that's for sure. Hey, Tom, can you give us a bit of an outline? The Berlin Marathon, Asafa's world record run. Tell us a bit of the what's going on in the media. Tell us a bit about the Adidas shoe, and just give us a synopsis. Because after you give us a synopsis, I'm going to read an article out that quotes a few knowledgeable people. Yeah.
We saw a small world record go down. So I guess there's been a bit of hype around her running so much faster. So, like, what is it? Just over 2 minutes faster than the previous world record.
Asafa from Ethiopia.
Yeah, I don't know how to say her first name, but Asafa.
You got to use her name, mate. That's disrespectful.
I don't know how to say her first name.
Tiggs Asafa. Tiggs Asafa. Yeah.
So phenomenal run, and she actually looked a bit like Kipchoge did when he broke 2 hours. Like she probably could have gone faster, I reckon. She was holding herself back a bit. So it was, just phenomenal run. And she was wearing a pair of shoes from Adidas that we will get onto because this is Shoe Geeks. So she was wearing a shoe.
It was Evo Pro Run, is that right?
Adidas Adizero, what is it? Adios. Yeah, Adizero Adios Pro Evo 1. It's a ridiculous name. So, yeah.
This is the photo at the end of her showing the shoe off at the end. And look, it got the media prior to the race, didn't it? Because they didn't make a lot of them, and I think the price tag was at about €500. Was that right? €500.
500.
So probably it's about 800 Australian dollars. Yep.
So so they did market it just before the race, didn't they?
They did. It was probably about a week beforehand. I know their main German runner he ran 2:04. He broke his own German record, I think, as well, wearing the shoe on the day. And look, it got it got a lot of media because of its weight, wasn't it? It was 138 grams for a male US 9. So it was just it was the super shoe attributes, but somehow, remember how Jordan was talking about trying to create the whole complex of the super shoe, but try and bring it back down to the, to the weight that was almost like Mizuno Wave Universe and all those really, really low. They've just about done it with this particular shoe, but they did it lasts one marathon in terms of durability. So they've sacrificed a bit of durability, similar to the Mayfly, Tom, one of your favorite shoes. There you go. So the shoe that you would wear for 100 Ks, and there was a warning label that came with it, and after 100 Ks, that was it. So it got the media behind it, but it did unfortunately skew the record. Like, just to go back in some of the stats for Safa, she started she was an 800 meter runner. She ran sub 2. I think she was a 54-second 400 meter runner. So she was, mechanically quite tuned to those events, and she stepped up to the marathon only about 2 years ago, maybe 18 months, and began with the 2:34. Won Berlin last year with 2:15. Was that right?
Yeah.
She ran 2:15. Yep. So she won last year. So she's defending champion. She's dropped the world record down just over 2 minutes to the 2:11. So she's found another few minutes from her own PB. And I'm assuming she wore the Adios Pro 3 last year, perhaps. I actually haven't done my research on that, but I'm assuming if she was Adidas, she would have wore one of the Pro Series last year. So you have to assume the benefit of the new shoe wouldn't be far removed from the Adios Pro 3, would you say, guys? It wouldn't, couldn't say it's worth 3 or 4% from that particular shoe. It wouldn't be far off. It'd just be a bit of a weight reduction. Is that right?
Probably at least 1% going off the weight, right?
That. But once again, this brings us back to the point where people are talking mainly about the shoe for the performance. And from 2:34 down to 2:11 over 2 years, there's obviously other factors. But the wide world of sports have interviewed a lot of people in relation to get their opinion as to what, and I'm going to read a little bit from this because Julian's in here as well. So Aussies have a bit of a say as to what goes on. I'm going to start. I'm just going to read a snippet, and we're going to hopefully Zach can attach the article to podcast through here. So Tamsin Manu, who won the World Indoor Gold Australia over 800 metres, made it clear that she's strongly opposed to the technology, arguing it's taking away from the purity of running and calling World Athletics to reopen the investigation. Pat Carroll, one of 7 Australian runners to break the 2:10 barrier, said he was dirty on it initially and had come to accept it, but only because he was quickly becoming an old grumpy prick. Rod Dixon, a New Zealander who won the 1983 New York City Marathon Olympic bronze medal over the 1,500 metres, admitted he had the blinkers right back, meaning he hasn't embraced it, but he's learned to live with it, and also hopes for balance and integrity. Ralph Dubell, the Australian who won the 800-metre gold medal at 1968 Mexico City Olympics, isn't phased. His view is eras come and go and progress is made. Kate Smythe, who competed for Australia in the women's marathon in 2008 Beijing Olympics, wants the super shoe boom to continue. She's enthralled by the technology of athletics. And Julian Spence, who ran for Australia in the men's marathon in 2019 Athletics Championships in Doha, put forward a staunch defence of super shoes. He sees it as an innovation in our sport that's having a phenomenal impact on revenue, participation, and the fan base. He also said progress has been happening from the beginning and thinks World Athletics has found a sweet spot with its regulations on super shoes. While Jason Augusta, a sports medicine podiatrist who's worked with many Australian top athletes, believes the influence of super shoes on performance is grossly exaggerated and says shoe companies harp on about it and ram it down everyone's throat. So that's the synopsis of the story. Do you want to go a bit more into detail with that, Julian? Because I think people need to understand that there are pros and cons for everything through here, but there've been a lot of pros for the performance, and there's obviously been a bit of misinterpretation here.
So I think firstly, the shoes have been out for 6 years. Or firstly, even before that, you've got to define what is a super shoe, right? What is a super shoe? So is it a shoe with foam that can return more energy? Is it a carbon plate? Is it high amounts of cushion? Is it lightweight, or is it all of these things combined? And you need to tick every box to call yourself a super shoe. If it's all of those, then most brands come pretty close to having 1 or 2 models now. The shoe's been out for 6 years. Came out first, released for Berlin 2017, the first one, the Fly version 1. So originally the criticisms early were that, okay, yes, technology is happening, but there's only one brand with this technology, so it's unfair on athletes when only one brand has access to this technology. And that was the original criticism from a lot of these commentators that we're seeing, whether it was Tamsin or Tim Hutchings. Like we saw a lot of the same commentary. Now that every brand has one out, the commentary is changing to this isn't fair to the old records because it's not comparative anymore. It doesn't, like, no other sport has to go through this like running does. I was thinking about like the cricket world. Like there are different levels of cricket bats. So there are different types of wood that you use for cricket bats. And some of the woods they use are a lot more expensive than the cheaper woods. And that determines how expensive the cricket bat is. And you're not going to see someone who has ambition in the sport of cricket using a cheap cricket bat where the performance suffers from. But no one's accusing those that are using a good quality cricket bat as cheating or like if they make 100 or they score a lot of runs, they're not saying that's hurting the sanctuary of running. So like at this point, I think it's starting to hurt the sport, this whole commentary, especially when some of the biggest critics use their platform as commentators during broadcasts to vent their criticisms, and they focus entirely on that, and they draw a lot of the story away from the athlete.
And the whole point of this is there's plenty of evidence out there, and we know that if you put a shoe on, one person doesn't respond the same way as another person, and that's the same as someone taking a caffeine pill or someone running on a soft surface or hard surface. You can't control all these features, but there are other sports that have suffered from it a little bit on a smaller. We don't hear about it here in Australia because we don't have amazing cyclists, but people like compare climbing Alpe d'Huez in the 1980s compared to 1990s. And now the blacks are lighter and they're more aerodynamic, and we see records disappearing all the time. But you know what? 20, 30 years after having carbon fiber bikes, everyone just accepts it as the norm, and they just sort of put an asterisk saying, oh yeah, that time's faster than what Lance Armstrong's in the 1999. But there's so many confounding factors because there are so many things that improve economy on the bike that weren't just the type of the bike. And the same thing goes for running. Not everything is purely built around the shoe to improve economy. I mean, the downside, as you said, is that it's uninformed people who have experience in the sport that just literally have an opinion on it. Like listening to Tamsin and listening to David Colbert continually talk about a topic that they don't understand, but it does skew the public because they take these people who are in a position of power and have a platform, and they suddenly, the sport's about the shoe technology because of misinformed people who have a platform to be able to tell people that they think that that's, something that has a huge benefit on historical times. I mean, we've already got examples of guys, Ralph Dubell and Pat Carroll, who'd sort of said, oh, that's really annoying. And you would be frustrated. People are running faster. But then they get over it and realize that years ago, people were running on rubber tracks compared to cinder tracks. And there's been technological advances for decade on decade on decade. You can't compare any generation. It's stupid to compare different generations.
Yes. Yep. I know. Geez, he set himself up here. He set himself up, and then he's like, you have a little go, and then, fuck, I'm coming in with the sledgehammer.
Look, and there's other points as well. We talk about the spikes and accessibility. You mentioned it last night off air that, the Dragonfly has been, the Dragonfly costs the same as what an original Matumba or Air Victory did now. So everyone's got the same accessibility to these performance shoes now. They're actually reasonably well priced. Not all shoes in the road performances, but the integrity of junior sport in terms of cost is different to the story of what happens at recreational running. There are so many pros that have included maybe more sustainable running, wearing shoes with, more protective features to it, giving more enjoyment to recreational runners. Yeah, this sort of stuff isn't talked about.
Making our sport
absolutely
fun. Get away from the fucking nerdiness of it.
And talking about the sport, here we are talking about the sport, but shit, yes, publish the shoe that girl is wearing, but publish her last 4 weeks of training as well. So people get a bit of an idea,
100%.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. All that people know, they come in the store. Oh, they wear those cheat shoes, don't they? That's what they say. Oh, that's those cheat shoes.
Unbelievable.
Oh,
yeah, it's crazy.
And it's because of art. It's not so much articles like this one, but it's commentary like that we hear every time someone runs a race. It's the commentary around it that creates the problem.
Absolutely. Should get Tamsin on, you reckon?
We could.
We could. Yeah.
Yeah.
So are we buying this shoe or?
I didn't even enter the draw. I didn't enter the draw. Did you boys enter?
I went on tonight, and I realized the draw's done and dusted.
Yeah, draw's done. Yeah. No one I know got a pair. Everyone I know entered. No one got one.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be like winning the lotto. I'm sure there was.
I feel a bit sad for the Alpha Flyer 3. The Alpha Flyer 3 should have got a bit more leverage. I like the look of it, so
we'll see it soon enough. next year.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. Hey, look, that's probably enough from us tonight. I've been in for an hour.
Yeah,
It's 9:12.
It's late.
Yeah, you guys
Good
even
time.
later. Yeah. All right, guys.
All
Good
right.
to chat, though. Good to chat.
Yes.
And and good feedback from from Jordan Donnelly as well. People love that.
It was a good one.
It was
It was
good.
a good
He's
one.
good.
It's good when
Yeah,
we
he's
don't
good, Jordan.
talk. We need to get other people to talk.
Absolutely.
Can we get listeners to put in some requests? That would be good as well.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
requests for
I've
interviews.
got a couple ideas, but yeah, requests are good. So
Okay.
cool.
All
All
right.
right, guys. You have a good evening.
See ya.
Yeah.
See you later.
I've heard all your names. If it's all the same, I'll keep on walking. Could have stayed hung up. Could have been knocked down. But here I stand, a man whose roots he understands, and I'm gonna hold my head up high. I was told as a young man, doesn't matter if you're white or black. Just show love to everyone you meet. Doesn't matter if